August 4, 1964. Two American Navy destroyers, the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy, are patrolling the Gulf of Tonkin off the coast of North Vietnam. At 9:30 at night, sonar operators begin screaming. Radar screens show contacts. The word spreads through the ship in seconds. Torpedoes. Incoming. We're under attack. Guns open fire into the dark water. The ships maneuver at full speed for hours. When it is over, the United States reports to the world that American vessels have been attacked by North Vietnam in international waters. President Lyndon Johnson goes on national television. He is calm, presidential, certain. Renewed hostile actions by North Vietnamese units have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply. Congress reacts within 48 hours. They passed the Gulf of Tonkin resolution almost unanimously, giving Johnson unlimited authority to wage war in Vietnam. No formal declaration of war. No real debate. Now here is what Lyndon Johnson, Robert McNamara, and the NSA knew and did not tell them. The commander of the USS Maddox, Captain John Herrick, sent an urgent message to Washington within hours of the reported attack. He wrote that freak weather effects and an overeager sonar operator may have accounted for many reported contacts. That no actual North Vietnamese vessels had been visually confirmed. That the entire incident needed a thorough reevaluation before any action was taken. The man who was supposedly being attacked was telling Washington, "I don't think it happened." Admiral James Stockdale was a Navy pilot flying air cover directly above both destroyers that night. He had the clearest view of anyone. He would later write in his memoir that he had seen no boat wakes, no torpedo tracks, no gunfire from the water below. I had the best seat in the house to observe the events of August 4th, and I saw nothing. The ocean was empty. The attack existed only on a radar screen and in a decision that had already been made in Washington before the first shot was fired. For decades, this was a debate, a controversy, something historians argued about. Then in 2001, an NSA historian named Robert Hanyok was given access to everything. Every classified SIGINT report, every intelligence intercept from that night, every internal communication between Washington and the fleet. He spent months going through it all. And when he was done, he wrote a classified internal report that the NSA immediately locked away. In that report, Hanyok concluded that NSA intelligence officers had deliberately manipulated the evidence. They took ambiguous signals, intercepts, communications that were unclear and could have meant almost anything, and selectively presented only the pieces that supported the story of an attack. Everything that raised doubt was quietly removed. Everything that created certainty was pushed forward. The NSA's own historian proved that his own agency helped lie America into the longest war in its history. Hanyok wrote this in 2001. The NSA sat on it for 4 years. When they finally released it in 2005, it came out in a sanitized version, with key sections still redacted. It took a researcher named Matthew Aid, who fought the NSA in court for years, to force the full document into the open. 42 years. From the night of the lie to the day the NSA's own proof became public. 42 years. And here is the detail that destroyed me when I read it. A senior CIA official named Ray Klein was present during the decision-making that night. Years later he admitted, and I want you to hear these exact words, "We knew it was bum dope that we were getting from the 7th Fleet. But we were told only to give facts with no elaboration on the nature of the evidence. They knew the intelligence was bad. They passed it forward anyway, and said nothing." Here is where this story breaks my heart. His name was John White, a former Navy officer who had served on destroyers. A man who understood sonar, who understood radar, who understood the sea. When he read the official account of August 4th, something didn't add up. He started asking questions. He tracked down Joseph Chaperjon, the chief sonar man on the USS Turner Joy, the man who had actually been operating the equipment that night. Chaperjon told him directly the sonar readings were faulty. Washington had been told the readings were faulty before they ordered the airstrikes. They ordered the airstrikes anyway. John White wrote a letter. In 1967, 3 years after the incident, While the war was still raging, he sent it to a newspaper in Connecticut. In that letter, he stated that President Johnson, Secretary McNamara, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff had given false information to Congress about what happened on August 4, 1964. Nobody listened. The war continued for 8 more years after John White wrote that letter. More than 30,000 Americans died after he told the truth. Every single one of them died after the evidence existed published, in print, in a newspaper, that the war they were fighting was built on a fabricated attack. History is full of moments where someone told the truth, and the world was not ready to hear it. John White was one of those people. And the names of those 30,000 men are now carved into black granite because not enough people read his letter. I want to come back to that wall for a moment. 58,220 names. Each one a complete life, a complete story. The youngest American killed in Vietnam was 16 years old. His name was Dan Bullock. He had lied about his age to enlist. The oldest was 62. Between them, every age, every background, every state in America. Men who had never left their hometown before. Men who had everything ahead of them. And beyond the wall, 300,000 more Americans came home wounded. Many with injuries that never healed. 3 million Vietnamese died. Men, women, children. Their names are not on any wall most Americans will ever see. Agent Orange, the chemical weapon sprayed across Vietnamese jungles, is still causing cancers and birth defects in the children and grandchildren of veterans today. In both countries. All of it traces back to one night. A dark ocean. An empty sea. And a decision made by men who knew the truth and chose silence. I think about the families of those 58,220 Americans often. How they were told their person died defending America. How they held that belief as a comfort through the worst grief of their lives. And how the documents sitting in the NSA vault told a completely different story. You might be thinking, this is history. 1964 was a long time ago. Why does it matter now? It matters because the Gulf of Tonkin gave every American administration that came after it a blueprint. Present the evidence selectively. Suppress the doubts. Move fast before questions can be asked. Make the lie look like certainty. The pattern has been used again and again, in different rooms, with different names, and different consequences. The NSA documents from 1964 are sitting on a government website right now. Free. Public. Available to anyone who wants to read them. The question is not whether the truth is available. The question is whether enough people are willing to look at it. I started making this video because I thought I understood the Vietnam War. I did not understand it until I sat with the NSA documents myself and read Robert Hanyok's words, an NSA historian describing how his own agency manipulated intelligence to deceive the country into war. There is something about reading the actual classified words of the people who made these decisions. Not a summary, not a textbook. The actual memos. The actual admissions. The actual lies buried in files that were never supposed to be public. It changes the way you see things. It changed the way I see things. And I believe every American deserves to have those documents in front of them at least once. Next week we go deeper into the Pentagon Papers. The 47-volume secret history of the Vietnam War that 4 presidents tried to bury. And the one man who risked everything, including his freedom, to show it to the world.
If this video made you feel something real, share it. Not for the 8th channel. Subscribe to Mystery Uncovered, drop a comment below. Did you or someone in your family serve in Vietnam? I want to hear your story.